Hello, friends, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Couch Brotato Podcast. Coming up on today's show, the year is 1985. Marty McFly is sent back to the year 1955 in a time machine created by his friend Doc Brown and finds himself in a time-shattering situation that jeopardizes his future. That's right, we're circling back to one of the early episodes of the Couch Brotato Podcast. We're going to revisit Back to the Future. So, after the trailer, the Couch Brotato Podcast presents to you Back to the Future again.
He doesn't know it yet, but he's about to become the world's first time traveler.
This is nuts.
Back to when his mother was a teenager looking for love.
It's an absolute dream.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Back to when his father needed a little push.
I'm your density. It no wonder I was even born.
Meet Marty McFly, the first kid ever to get into trouble before he was even born. Steven Spielberg presents a Robert Zemeckis film, Back to the Future. Rated PG. Now at select theaters. Check newspapers.
All right, Adam, what's going on, my friend?
Oh, not too much. What's going on with you?
Nothing much. I figured on today's show we would try something a little different here and circle back to one of the first episodes of the Couch Brotato Podcast when we used to do the watch-along format. Thought it'd be kind of cool to give it a more current spin on what we do here on the show that the people love or hate, depending on, who you are. But I figured what better movie to start out with than 1985's Back to the Future.
Back to the Past.
I don't know what we're going to call it yet.
Future.
I don't know if I'm going to call it like Back to the Future again or something snazzy. I was going to go with the Apocalypse Now title when I put this out, like a Back to the Future redo.
Oh, yeah.
But
be good.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. But if you guys and gals listen to the Back to the Future episode we put out in, when was that? That had to be 2020.
Something like that.
I don't know. I've pretty much since March of 2020 and to today's date, everything kind of runs together. Like, I just look at it like it's 2019 and it's like, it's just whatever now.
Yeah. After 2019, it just, all the years are one now.
Yeah, it's just one.
Just reset.
But we did do a Back to the Future episode. But as you may have heard on that episode, this is one of my favorite movies. And I think since I've grown a little older, I think Back to the Future has kind of pulled up into the pole position as my favorite movie of all time. It's one of those movies where, and I know the point of the show is usually the movies that we like, that if we catch them on TV, we'll stop and like watch a scene or so, then we kind of get wrapped up in the movie. But this is probably one of a handful of movies that I know for me, I didn't even have to watch the movie again to do this episode because I've seen it so many times.
Same.
It was more of a chore to pick my favorite stuff from the movie. And for me, growing up in the 80s, I kind of grew up when this was still kind of new and fresh, but you were a little younger than me, so I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on, like, why is it this movie's, well, it'll be 39 years old if my math is right in July, but it's one of those movies that, like, it's beloved by people of all ages, whether you're 70 or whether you're 7. I don't know anyone that has a bad thing to say about this movie. So I just wanted to know from someone that's a little younger than me, what makes Back to the Future such a beloved classic almost 40 years later?
I think I'm going to have to go with the relatability of Marty and his family.
Mm-hmm.
Because it focuses on like the family aspect of things versus like, you know, the sci-fi aspect of things. If this was any other movie, it would be, you know, the time travel is the main thing to focus on, and like the scientist that came up with it. Doc Brown is obviously a main character, but like I think that focusing on Marty and his family and how going back in time, where he changed things, focusing on that makes it a little bit more relatable, and more fun. Kind of puts a spin on the adventure and less of a, you know, out there sci-fi take to it.
Mm. I think for me, it's just it combines a lot of different genres and they blend them together perfectly. I mean, it's a family film. It's PG, so I mean, you don't have to really monitor, you know, your kids watching it. Although there is some like innuendo type stuff in this that we'll get into in a bit. It's got comedy, which they blend the comedy perfectly. I mean, this movie was made in 1985, and there's still parts of this movie that still crack me up. It has sci-fi, obviously, with the time travel stuff, and it's an action adventure movie. I mean, the point of the movie is Marty is stuck in 1955, and he has to get his parents to hook up, or else he won't exist in 1985. Yeah. And it manages to take all these genres and just blend them together perfectly. And I think a lot of it too is the fact that Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd just have this impeccable chemistry with one another. You would think that these guys have done movies together for like 15 years before they did Back to the Future. And I think it's what makes it work is the fact that they portray these two and they make them so lovable that like you can't help but want to spend an hour and 50 minutes with them.
Yeah.
When was the first time you seen Back to the Future? Because I know I seen it. I didn't see it in movie theaters, but I seen it. I think it was like shortly after it got introduced to home video.
I think I saw it. And I don't remember if it was on VHS or DVD, because I know I watched both kinds. But my dad had bought it, and I was like, "Oh, what's that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Back to the Future." And you know, put it in, watched it, and it was one of the best movies I've ever watched.
I remember as a kid at Christmas time, my mom always got us stocking stuffers, and this one year she got me and my brother VHS tapes, and to show the power of how great this movie is, my brother does not like movies at all. Like he maybe will go to a movie once a year, and it's pretty much if he goes and sees anything, it's like a Star Wars or a Marvel type movie. And he's kind of like my mom in the respect that he has like maybe 5 or 6 go-tos. They're like, those are the only movies he'll watch. Like The Big Lebowski's one. Caddyshack is another one. Major League. He gravitates towards sports movies. But my brother's favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future. And that was like one of the Christmas stocking stuffers he got was Back to the Future. And I remember we were always able to open up our stockings on Christmas Eve as a kid. And we watched Back to the Future before we had to go to bed. And I remember I heard my brother talking in his sleep, and he quoted Doc Brown's roads. Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Great.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, and this is also one of those franchises too that I think if you judge the movies strictly on the trilogy, like just 3 movies, this has to be Mount Rushmore of like best trilogy of movies in movie history. I think. I mean, I think the original Lord of the Rings has to be on that mountain. I would say maybe The Godfather simply because of the strength of the first 2. And I think 3 kind of suffers from being, the third movie of The Godfather, and it has that expectation. Then obviously the original Star Wars trilogy. But I think Back to the Future has just as strong of a case as any of them. I mean, all three of those movies are either masterpieces to pretty good. And I used to like 3 more than 2. But in recent years, I seem to be a little less favorable to 3, and I'm starting to really like 2 more.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've always been a person that didn't like 3 as much, but I've also I just have a thing against Westerns. It has to be a good Western for me to like it. And so like it's still good and I still like it, and I'll watch it with the trilogy. Whenever I watch the movies, I watch all 3 of them, and I always finish with 3. I never stop at 2. But it's my least favorite of the 3. Still good.
I think that's how I
like 8 or 9.
I think that's how I watch them too. Is usually if I end up sitting down and watching one, it's like, okay. And a lot of times now, like AMC, and then it used to be Disney Family. Now it's called like Freeform. I think it's what it's called. I never watch anything on there, so I don't know what it used to be before. But a lot of times they'll run marathons where they'll show all 3 of them consecutively. So once I see one, it's like, okay, 2's on. I'm just going to sit and watch 2. And then 3 is like, you know what? Fuck it. Marty's in the Old West now. I got to see what happens. I mean, I know what happens, but it's like, I want to see, want to revisit him and Doc one last time.
Right.
Well, you ready to knock these categories out, my friend?
Sure.
All right. The tail of the tape, Back to the Future is rated PG, so you can have the kids. Once you get done listening to this episode, you can bring the kids in to the living room, pop you some popcorn, get your favorite candy and soda pops, sit down and watch it. This movie was released on July the 3rd, 1985. Stars Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, Thomas Wilson, and Crispin Glover. Directed by Robert Zemeckis, or since you and I are in the Hollywood business now, Bob. We can call him Bob Zemeckis.
Yeah, Bob. Yeah, he's Bob.
Rotten Tomatoes score of, and I remember to write it down this time. I think in the last episode I forgot to write it down. I had to look it up. So I'm more prepared today. Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes scored 93% from critics and 94% from audiences. Box office budget at $19 million, grossed $388 million. And I think this was the number 1 movie at the box office that year.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
And I got a little bit of a fun fact about its box office run here shortly. It did win the Best Sound Effects Editing at the 1986 Academy Awards. And it was also nominated for Best Original Screenplay for Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, Best Sound, and Best Original Song for The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News. Now, before I continue, that is a fucking travesty that Huey Lewis did not win Best Original Song. I'm going to look it up here and see what won that year, but it couldn't have been as good as The Power of Love, because that, for those of you who don't know, one of my guilty pleasure bands is Huey Lewis and News. I fucking adore that band. And I love the fact that no matter what happens, they're always going to live on in infamy, simply because between this movie and American History, or American Psycho, not American History X, completely different movie. Huey Lewis is not sprucing that movie up.
Yeah.
All right, but I'm going to look it up here. Best original score. Say You, Say Me. All right. That one's got a case. It's Lionel Richie song from, what movie was that? Of course, now I'm looking it up on Wikipedia and there's like nothing on there. Well, fuck it. I don't know what movie that's from, but you know what? It's a pretty iconic Lionel Richie song.
Yeah.
For you youngsters out there, Lionel Richie hosts American Idol, but at one point it was probably one of the biggest pop stars of the 1980s.
Yep.
So, you can watch Back to the Future, and I believe you can watch all three of them on the cock. Hop on Peacock.
Great Scott, Marty.
Well, hey, that's one category I had trouble picking, by the way. But yeah, hop on the old Peacock. You can watch all three of the Back to the Future movies. You could definitely spend a great afternoon, rain or shine, watching Back to the Future. For the Did You Know portion of the program, there's a lot of stuff I'm probably going to leave out simply because we kind of went over it on the earlier episodes. There's no need to rehash it, but going through and researching this movie, there is a ton of little nuggets, little morsels to delight the old brain with, if you're curious about Back to the Future. Of course, the biggest one, Eric Stoltz was originally cast to play Marty McFly after Michael J. Fox couldn't do Back to the Future because of commitments to family ties. He lasted 6 weeks, and Robert Zemeckis and Eric Stoltz both agreed that he was not the right choice to play Marty McFly. So luckily for everyone involved, Michael J. Fox was able to shoot Back to the Future at like a very restricted schedule, but he was able to get freed up so he could do Family Ties and Back to the Future. And of course, the rest is history. But what I didn't know,
Although,
go ahead.
For those that don't know, the Michael Keaton Batman, the universe that he is involved in, Eric Stoltz is Marty McFly. If you haven't seen The Flash, which a lot of people haven't because they don't like those movies. But anyways.
Well, also, a lot of people didn't find The Flash to be very good.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know this, so apparently he had to shoot Family Ties during the day, and then he did all of his stuff for Back to the Future at night. So for 6 weeks or so, he was cruising on like 5 to 6 hours of sleep. And he wasn't even allowed to go on promotional tours for Back to the Future. So he couldn't do like talk shows or interviews for newspapers and magazines. He couldn't do any of that stuff.
Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, like it's almost like
maybe
they were,
not for him.
Yeah, it's almost like they punished him for like wanting to do a movie.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard stars say they don't like doing promotional tours because it gets repetitive and boring. So maybe it was a good thing for him.
Well, that's why if you movie stars and starlets out there, you want to come on and plug your movie, come on to our show. We're not going to ask you the same old shit. I have a feeling that if we got like a big A+ celebrity, like say we got Robert Downey Jr. on the program, I probably would just turn into Chris Farley in that Saturday Night Live skit. Like, hey, remember you were an Iron Man? Man, that was cool.
Yeah, you were in that really bad Doolittle movie too.
Did you have any those animals like have an accident in your trailer? Did a raccoon try to get in your trash and get like your catering that you didn't finish?
How much did you pay a guy to shovel the animal droppings? Because I know that there was a guy.
Would you consider Sherlock Holmes a boxer or a pugilist? Those are the hard-hitting questions we would ask Robert Downey Jr. And then he would just basically like just cut us off and like, all right, I'm done with this. The rights to Back to the Future and its sequels are owned by Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. And in a 2015 interview, Zemeckis maintained that no reboot or remake of the film would be authorized while him or Bob Gale are alive. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. Because this is one of those movies to me that like, there's very few movies that are pretty much perfect. And I mean, I know some of the technology and stuff in Back to the Future is outdated and the time frame is very specific for the point of the movie, but you don't need to remake Back to the Future.
So yeah, the second movie takes place in 2015, and so we all know that that's not how 2015 ended up like. So that's not a reason to reboot it. Don't reboot it. It doesn't need rebooted.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that they went ahead with Jaws, because I think Jaws 4 killed any hopes of a franchise after 4.
Yeah.
Jaws, what was that? Jaws 19?
Something like that. I don't remember. No, it was the 3D version, and it like came out to eat him.
Well, they had a Jaws 3D that came out. It was the third Jaws movie. It had Dennis Quaid in it. And I swear it was like Jaws 19 or something crazy like that.
It was probably Jaws 19.
If you know, I'm not going to look it up. I don't fucking care at this point. The bit in Back to the Future 2 is super cool. Well, they can look it up. I mean, you got to
look it up for it.
You have a personal computer in the palm of your hand. You're probably listening to it on a personal computer right now, like your phone. Google it.
And then you're going to Google it, and you're going to be like, oh man, those guys, they're dumb. They don't know what it is. And I just Googled it.
Those hayseeds on that podcast need to get their shit together. The script for this movie was rejected 44 times before it was finally greenlit. Those studios included Disney, which they didn't feel comfortable with the incest innuendo between a young Lorraine Baines from 1955 and her son, who is in 1955 because he traveled back in time. I also found that a lot of the studios too didn't want to go forward with the movie because it wasn't raunchy enough. Because we're in the heyday of the raunchy teen sex comedy, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Porky's, and all that. And a lot of studios passed on because it was too kid friendly.
And I wouldn't have liked it if Marty was like, sexing it up with his mom. That's kind of gross.
No, although I am willing to bet the farm that there's a porno parody of this movie somewhere.
Probably. Yeah.
An anal film called Back to the Future. And the actress that stars in it's probably named Future.
Yeah.
The inspiration for the film largely stems from Bob Gale's discovering his father's high school yearbook and wondering whether he and his dad would have been friends in high school. Gale also said that the chance to go back in time, he would have went back in time to see if him and his dad would have really been friends. So that's kind of what the inspiration of the movie was. I know.
If you had a time machine, would you do that?
Oh, me? No, my dad's a shitheel. I don't give two fucks about going back and hanging out with my dad.
Well, I mean, anybody from that era, like your mom or.
I think my mom would have been a cool person to hang out with. She always told me stories of like concerts she went to, so she got to see like Kiss, like back in Kiss's heyday. Because I'm a rock fan because my mom like used to listen to like a lot of rock music, and like I like Kiss because of my mom. And then she's told us like she's seen Led Zeppelin in concert, which like fuck, I would just give anything to do that. Like probably end up smoking a J with my mom because she said she never done that stuff, but I'm not buying that for a minute.
Sure, yeah,
like I'd light up a dude with my mom and go see Led Zeppelin.
That's the best use of a time machine right there.
Well, the second best use of a time machine. If I had a time machine, first thing I would do is what you shouldn't do, and it's what Biff Tannen did Back to the Future 2, is I would go back to make myself rich. I would go forward to make myself rich, take that information, and then use it to create a small fortune and then buy a town and its entire law enforcement department.
Yeah. I mean, you would essentially be Biff at that point.
Yeah, it would splinter like the branches at time, and then somebody would come back and they'd try to steal the book or whatever I got from me, and it created a whole mess. But I don't care. I'm rich.
I think I would create a mess if I went back and killed baby Hitler. That's what I used the time machine for.
So you would use that before, so you wouldn't use it to become rich.
No, I'd go kill baby Hitler just to see, how the world turns out.
Interesting. Well, you're a man of higher moral fiber than I am. I seriously.
But see, what if I make a mess though? That would suck.
Well, see, that's what you'd need me for, because then I'd be super rich, and then I could just help you go back and fix it.
Okay, that works.
Circling back to Robert Downey Jr., we'd be the combination of Tony Stark. You're super smart. I'm super rich.
Yeah, you'd be the Doc Brown, and I would be the Marty McFly.
I'm not smart enough to be Doc Brown. Let's be real. People listen to the show already, and if they've listened to you and I enough, they know that you're the Doc Brown of this outfit, and I'm the Marty McFly. I'm the one that acts rash and is kind of a moron, and you're the smart one.
I'm gonna need you to get on a skateboard and grab onto the back of a truck just to see it.
That ain't happening now. I did skateboard for a little bit, and then my brother broke his arm on a set of monkey bars.
Oh, okay.
And after that, well, he didn't just not only break his arm, he fucking snapped his arm in half.
Oh,
like his wrist basically poked through his skin, and after that, my mom shut that shit down.
Yeah, I could see that.
And now there's no way that I'm so rusty, no pun intended, at skateboarding and stuff. Like I'd probably end up in the fucking hospital. This little tidbit I found to be interesting. According to Bob Gale, Johnny Depp auditioned for the role of Marty McFly. I looked through the notes. I don't see it. He goes, I looked through the notes and I said, geez, I don't even remember that we read Johnny Depp. So whatever he did, it wasn't all that memorable, I guess.
Yeah, no, I couldn't see it.
No, I think
I wholeheartedly agree.
At the time, I mean, like Michael J. Fox is just pitch perfect for this. I mean, between like he kind of has that all American quality that Marty McFly needed, and he's not super quirky.
Yeah,
because Johnny Depp
has a very unique voice too.
Mm-hmm. You can kind of believe that like he is like he doesn't take shit from anybody, because like that's one of the big things with Marty. He was like, don't ever call him chicken. He was never afraid to stand up for himself, which is kind of like the polar opposite of his father. And I don't know. I just can't see Johnny Depp pulling that off. Biff's catchphrases like make like a tree and get out of here, or is it said in 2, make like a tree and leave? Which one do you like better?
I make like a tree and leave because it makes more sense.
Yeah. And Butthead were improvised by Thomas Wilson, the actor that plays Biff.
Okay. I hate manure became kind of a catchphrase, but I doubt it was improvised.
Well, we'll get to that in just a minute with the best line of the movie. That one was there's too much shit in this movie. It's like you can't pinpoint just one thing except for like the best scene of the movie. Last fun fact I have, this movie holds the record for most weeks at number 1 at the box office. This was the number 1 movie at the box office for 3 months straight. That's
impressive.
That's fucking unheard of now. Like, not so much in the post-COVID era, but pre-COVID, especially the way that movies like get released now. It's like you're lucky if you get 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and everything's so front-loaded that
if Back to the Future was a person, it would be like a 20-foot tall person. And it would be all leg.
I believe the trade magazines such as Variety and The Hollywood Reporter, I think they would call Back to the Future's box office run as leggy as fuck.
Verbatim.
I think in the retrospect, I think that's actually what they had. They're talking about the 35th anniversary, like movies leggy as fuck. Did you have any other facts you wanted to add to this?
Sure. I actually had a couple of my, regular goofs, if you will. And being a time travel movie, this one had a few.
I'm sure it did.
So since this isn't a time travel movie like our last podcast, Tenet, which you can listen to anywhere you get your podcast.
Oh, cheap plug of the show. Way to go, Adam.
This one takes place in current timeline that isn't necessarily all sci-fi. So when they go back to 1955, it's what we expect 1955 to be. But there's a couple of things in 1955 that don't fit, like The Man from Space, which was released in 1955. Lorraine's family watches it on November 5th, 1955. It didn't release until December 31st, 1955. And then during the clock tower chase scene, there's some disability signs visible. Those didn't show up until 1970.
Really?
And then,
prior to that, it's like, oh, if you've got a disability, like, well, tough shit. We're not making any accommodations for you. It's fucking lame.
I'm not going to get political here, but the 1950s weren't America's greatest time.
No, they were not. But we're not a political show. We're not going to get into that.
The Pepsi thermometer that is in the diner or cafe, it didn't show up until 1957, I believe, and it is currently 1955. So it's a little early in this movie. Something that technically isn't a mistake, but I thought was really cool. When Marty is being chased by the terrorists, they actually used shots from Eric Stoltz takes because you can't really see him. That's shot from far away. So when you're seeing him driving, it's actually Eric Stoltz in there. And that's all I had.
One thing I did see about Eric Stoltz, and I didn't, or I want to touch on with Eric Stoltz, and I don't remember whether we did it on the watch along episode, but apparently Eric Stoltz is a method actor, and he likes to be in character the entire time he's on a film set. And I guess he wanted to make sure that like people called him Marty and not Eric. And then I read a story that when Robert Zemeckis announced the crew, the cast and crew, that they let Eric Stoltz go, Christopher Lloyd says, "Who's Eric?"
Yeah, they changed the timeline.
The Martin Scorsese award for the Martin Scorsese This Is Cinema award. I do apologize for the best scene of the movie. Mine, I've said it to anyone that knows me. My favorite scene in this movie, and one of my favorite scenes in any movie that I've ever seen, is the last 20 minutes of the movie when Marty's accomplished his mission. He's gotten Lorraine and George together. And now it's time for him to go back to 1985. That whole sequence from the time he's trying to tell Doc, like, hey, you need to take care of yourself. You're going to get shot in 1985. Yeah. And he, like, Doc wants none of it, to where they get the experiment ready. All he needs to do is just turn on the car and punch it. He can't get the car to start. The cord that's supposed to send the bolt of lightning to the rod that sends him back, that gets unhooked. Doc's got to scale up it's just a thrilling 15 minutes. And to this day, it still puts me on the edge of my seat every time I watch it.
Yeah, I'm not even going to contest it. That's the best scene of the movie.
And this movie has a ton of fantastic sequences. I mean, even the I think if I had a runner-up, it had to be Marty playing Johnny Be Good at the dance.
Yeah, that was good.
I do love that one too.
The Biff chase scene when they're chasing Marty around the clock tower and Town Square. And then I really like the scenes where Marty tries to go convince Doc Brown he's from the future. That's pretty cool too. I like those scenes.
Ronald Reagan, the actor?
The actor?
Yeah, I think what really sets off that final sequence is Alan Silvestri's score.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess Spielberg didn't want him to be the composer to do the score, but I guess during a test screening, they snuck in a like a clip of a piece that he did, and Spielberg said to Zemeckis, like, this is the stuff that we are, like the music that we need, and it turns out it was Alan Silvestri's score.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's one of my favorite scores. I think when it comes to scoring movies, like you have to take into account like the feel of the scene, and this is one of those movies that has those scenes that are just amplified by the soundtrack. You have to really listen to like the ups and downs of the music. I know I'm being really nerdy here about the soundtrack, but like another movie that does it is Star Wars is a good example, or Indiana Jones. Alan Silvestri's score in this is much like Williams' score in those. It's just, it punctuates all of the good scenes, and it still kind of harkens back to the themes that he creates for the characters. And even the time travel has its own theme, and you can hear that theme play whenever Marty's in the DeLorean.
Right. Alan Silvestri also did the Avengers score.
Yes, he did.
So he's got two bangers on his resume at least.
He's great at doing themes. Like as soon as you hear that, you're like, oh, Avengers, you know. And it's the same with Back to the Future. You're just like, oh, yep, I'm going back in a DeLorean. I know exactly what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that. Oh, goosebumps. I'm getting them right now, actually. Any other scenes that stand out to you? I mean, this movie's filled with them, but those are the two that kind of like really stand out to me as my favorites.
Yeah, I really liked those. Like I said, the one where he's trying to convince Doc Brown he's from the future. I even like where he's with his family in 1985 and how kind of similar or different it is than when he's with his family in 1955. And I like that too.
Yeah. I do enjoy the beginning of the movie when he goes to Doc's house and he plugs in the amp.
Oh yeah, that's a good
I
scene.
do like that one too, because like as a young rocker myself, like that was like just the coolest thing ever. Was that gigantic amp? But yeah, I think the finale is just got to be it. I mean, like the finale is one of those them scenes where if I don't care what I'm doing, unless it's a medical emergency,
yeah,
ain't stopping.
Nope.
We're gonna watch.
Gotta go back.
We gotta watch this scene real quick, and then we can go do whatever. Right. So yeah, pretty unanimous. The finale, like the final 15, 20 minutes of the movie. I mean, I can't really pinpoint one specific sequence. I just lump it as the finale.
Finale is the best.
Yeah. I would say from the time he gets to where he's at till you see the flames in the road and Marty's back in 1985. I always thought that was like a cool thing when I was a kid, when the license plate's spinning in the street.
Yeah, and out of time.
Yeah. The Andy Dufresne Get Busy Living or Get Busy Dying Award for the best or most quotable line of the movie. Now, I know for me, probably it's going to be Great Scott would probably be the winner, or I Hate Manure. But one line that I really, really like is when he shouts out that he says, "I finally invented something that works."
Yeah, I like that.
Because whenever you've met Doc Brown prior to him, Marty getting the 1955, let's be real, Doc's got a lot of shit laying around the house that like probably isn't really very good. Like what'd you call that machine where he irons the dog feeder?
Oh yeah, it's a Rube Goldberg machine. Yeah.
I don't know who Rube Goldberg is. Do you care to explain, or is it just like
yeah. So it's named after scientists, and yeah, that's about it. It basically what it is a machine that's made of regular everyday things that cause a chain reaction that accomplishes a simple task.
Okay. Well, fuck, the amplifier doesn't even work. Of course, Marty blows the thing out. Like, he turns it up as loud as he possibly can.
Yeah.
But even when you first meet Doc Brown, he's trying to, like, was that the mind reader?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, that thing ain't gonna fucking work.
No. It had a whole bunch of light bulbs on it. I don't even know what the light bulbs were for.
But that was my favorite line. I also think make like a tree and leave. Some of the stuff Biff says is really cool too. Don't call me chicken.
I really, really like roads where we're going. We don't need roads.
That's my as we've established. That's my brother's favorite line from this movie. He quoted it in his sleep.
That's my favorite line.
That one's really good too. I think the Rhodes line, that and Great Scott, got to be the most iconic from the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm okay giving it to Rhodes where we're going. We don't need roads because
okay.
There's actually a really cool movie podcast. I chat with them from time to time on the old Twitter. They're called Roads, or Where We're Going, We Don't Need Roads podcast. They're like a movie podcast. Pretty good. Highly recommend checking them out. You know what? I think we're just going to save the Paul Walker for like when the movie calls for it. This movie doesn't really have an unintentionally hilarious line, so we're just going to skip past that one. Now we're really digging into what I found to be the toughest stuff to come up with. The McLovin Award for the best supporting or scene-stealing performance from the movie. I originally had another performer in this, but then when you and I chatted, you came up with the candidate I think is most deserving. So I'll let you go ahead and take the lead on this one.
Okay, so I said that Crispin Glover, George McFly, Marty's dad, should get this award. I think he's definitely a supporting character. He's not in the movie as much as Doc and Marty and Biff, but he's still important enough to the plot. He's who Marty hangs out with the most to get, with Lorraine. And man, he has some great lines. Like, I think I've quoted it to you before. It's like, I am your density, where he messes up Destiny. His performance is great because he goes from being like this, nerdy, wimpy guy. And then after Marty helps him in 1955, like he gets back to 1985 and like he's super successful and really assertive. And I think that kind of dichotomy is really, really good. And I think that his infatuation with sci-fi is really funny, just because Marty puts on that costume and says that he's what is it, Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan or something like that.
And he plays him the Eddie Van Halen riff, which I found out was actually a riff that didn't get used in a Melanie Griffith movie. I think it was Something Wild. It's like an 80s, I think it's like movies like 85, 86. It has Melanie Griffith and Ray Liotta. But it was
Okay.
no, 84. It had to be 84. They couldn't have been 86 or 87. What the fuck am I talking about? But it was a riff that they didn't use for that movie. So they used it in that particular sequence.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Excellent scene. Excellent actor. Of course, they changed him, but I think he's very much deserving of the McLovin Award in this.
like changed him, like, oh, they recast him, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think that had to do with a pay dispute because he thought he should have gotten a bigger raise and he didn't want to come back for it, so they just recast him.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing with that one. I think that's the right choice. Just the George character is like, you know why Marty is the way that he is. Marty's very confident in himself, and like I said, like self-assured, and like, you know, isn't afraid of anything. Pretty fearless. But then, like, when you meet George in 1985, before Marty goes back, he's kind of like just an older version of how he is in 1955. So you kind of see how Marty is the way he is because he doesn't want to be like his dad. And then it's like when it comes back full circle, it's like, okay, like Marty gave him the tools to stand up for himself. And then once he knocks out the big bad bully, kind of sends him on this entirely different like life path. And I think George McFly is one of the most socially awkward characters I've ever seen in a movie. I think him and Napoleon Dynamite are going to fight it out for the title on that one.
Yeah, that's like a heavyweight for those two.
But yeah, George is really good, and I think it's like you feel sorry for him, so you kind of root for him. And, you know, if it wasn't played with such an awkwardness, I don't think it works very well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm totally cool giving it to Crispin Glover.
Okay. Yep.
And I don't really see him in much anymore. I know he was the bad guy in one of the Charlie's Angels movies, and he did that remake of that Willard movie with the rats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Crispin Glover though, strange cat. He's just really weird. I remember he got kicked off the Late Show with David Letterman because he almost roundhouse kicked David Letterman in the face. Letterman, it's on YouTube. You can just easily look it up. Yeah, Crispin Glover like gets incredibly close to hitting David Letterman, and David flips the fuck out and like ends up getting kicked off the show and never came back.
That's great.
The IMDb Drug Dealer #2 award for the actor or actress that you've seen in the movie, but you have no idea who they are. I am going to nominate James Tolkien as Mr. Strickland. Now, for those of you that are movie fans, you'd probably recognize him from Top Gun.
Right.
That's probably like Top Gun and Back to the Future, probably like the two like roles that he's probably most recognized for. He was in Problem Child 2. I don't know if a lot of people have seen Problem Child 2. I don't know why. Those are guilty pleasure movies for me. I fucking love them. But he plays against type. He plays a school teacher, and I'll never get the image out of my head of him. There's a gag in that movie. Have you seen Problem Child 2?
Yeah.
Well, the gag where like Junior and Trixie are like throwing that M80 down the toilet, and he's shuffling to get to the bathroom before he shits his pants, and then ends up blowing up on the toilet he's sitting on. He spends the rest of the movie in a giant diaper.
Oh yeah.
And he's also in that Masters of the Universe movie too.
He's also in War Games, one of my favorite movies.
Oh fuck, he is in War Games, isn't he?
Yeah.
Damn, I forgot about that. I do know he's in Serpico too. Very overlooked 70s classic with Al Pacino before he went fucking ham on everything. But that's my nominee. The only other person I had was a former winner of this award, Courtney Gaines, who we met a few weeks ago on The Burbs, who played Hans.
Yeah.
He's the guy that steals Lorraine George at the Enchantment of the Sea, like right when after the stuff with Biff happens and George is dancing with her, then that guy cuts in and takes Lorraine from George. That's Courtney Gaines.
Yeah. Oh, is it? I never noticed.
Yeah. Billy Zane also has a small role. He's one of Biff's goons.
Yeah.
But Billy Zane's Billy Zane. I mean, he's in, was it the third highest grossing movie of all time now, is like the villain.
Titanic.
Yeah,
who,
so
steals a child from a lady to save his own life.
Yeah. And he was also in Tombstone, which we did back in December, which you can listen to on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Second cheap plug of the episode. We need to come up with a sound effect for that.
We do.
But yeah, Billy Zane's Billy Zane. And then I also thought of another one of Biff's goons is Casey Zemesco, I think is how you pronounce his name. He was he played Charlie in Young Guns.
Oh, okay.
And he was in a movie called 3 O'Clock High, which is also a high school movie, which involves a guy standing up to a bully.
Oh.
I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember it being pretty good. But yeah, that's my nominees. James Tolkien. I agree. I mean, he's one of those guys that's popped up and stuff. Like for the longest time, I always called him Mr. Strickland. Like I never bothered to look up his name. It was like, oh, it's Mr. Strickland.
And I mean, that's who he is. Let's just be real. He's no longer James Tolkien. He's Mr. Strickland.
Mm-hmm. Like for when I was a kid, I always thought that's how high school that's how I thought school principals were. All of them were like Mr. Strickland, like just incredibly hard ass, like disciplinarians.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, this is what I got to look forward to.
And the way he turns out in the alternate 1985 is actually how school principals are now.
Mm-hmm. We're not getting political on here, gang. But him wearing that fucking, that what do they call that attire? Like the men's long nightgown?
Yeah. I don't know what that is. Like, it's like a muumuu or something.
Yeah, I've always wondered what that's called because it was like a big thing in like early 19th century like England. You seen him in like a lot of like a Christmas Story or Christmas Carol, shit like that. Just this gigantic long gown, and they'd wear slippers with it and like a nightcap.
Yep,
that always matched. I've always wondered what the hell that outfit was called. So if anyone knows, shoot us an email, which you'll find in the show description. Or
I'm gonna guess dressing gown, but only because I've seen Muppets Christmas Carol way too many times, and then Michael Caine beats up his what he calls his dressing gown, which he wears to bed. So
I would look it up on Google, but I wouldn't even know what to actually type in to look it up. Like men's nightgown.
What is the long pajamas that men wear?
I'm looking it up. Fuck it. We're already on it. Men's nightgown. Google.
I wonder if I was right. Hopefully I am. If not, Michael Caine, how dare you? You led me astray.
It's called a nightgown.
Oh, okay. Well, just a nightgown then.
Target sells them. It's nightgowns for men. Shop Target for nightgowns for men you will love at great low prices. Choose from same-day delivery, drive up, or order pickup, plus free shipping. So if you're in the market for a men's nightgown, head on over to Target. I do remember that gag in Dirty Work when Norm Macdonald's asleep in his car after he gets kicked out of his apartment. He's wearing one of those.
Yeah.
Which Norm Macdonald...
It'd be super easy to like go to the bathroom at night. Just like super tired and you don't feel like fumbling around for anything.
I feel the opposite because if you got like a pair of like pants, you can just pull it down, but like you're hiking up a fucking dress and
you'd have to like hold it up. Yeah, that's too much work. Never mind.
Yeah, when you're half asleep, like the last thing I want to do is like fucking work. And like, be my luck though, I would be so out of it, I'd end up pissing my pants. Like, I'd just piss all over it. And like, well, fuck, now I got to change. I don't have any more nightgowns to wear. Fuck, what am I going to do?
You wake up and Jen's like, Russ, why is your nightgown wet?
I'm pissed on it because I'm fucking lazy. They don't make these things easy to get out of. You can sit down. Unsolved mysteries of the movie. The only one I could think of was, and I kind of know the answer to it already, but why didn't George and Lorraine recognize Marty as the kid that got them together in 1955?
Yeah, because he grew up and he looks exactly like the kid.
But the only thing that I can figure is, I mean, I'm trying to think. I would be out of high school. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's been that fucking long. It'll be 30 years. So about 26 years coming up. And there's people that I hung out with, but I don't really remember them. And they were only together for like, what was it? The length is like a week.
About a week, yeah.
Yeah. And they were thick as thieves for a week. And then that's it. They never seen him again.
Right. So that kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
what doesn't make sense, though, is how they didn't recognize Calvin Klein underwear. Like, hey, I knew a Calvin Klein, but is it the same guy? You know?
Well, that could also be under the same pretense, though, because, you know, there's stuff that I liked as a kid. Like, I remember McDonald's had this fucking killer hamburger as a kid. And it came in a styrofoam container, and they never put the thing together. It's like, you got like the cold toppings on one side is like the top of the bun, your lettuce, like any kind of like dressing, like mayonnaise, ketchup, whatever on one of them. And then the other one was your cheese and the burger in the bottom half of the bun. I fucking loved that sandwich as a kid. Right now, for life of me, couldn't tell you what that sandwich was.
I remember, I don't know if I was around for that sandwich. I remember hearing about it. But yeah, I don't remember what it's called.
Best, like that, I used to hate mayonnaise as a kid. That sandwich got me on the mayonnaise.
Yeah.
So I have that sandwich to thank. I just don't know who to fucking send the thank you card to.
Mayonnaise is one of the best condiments.
Yeah, you used to hate it. I think big fast food chains, it's like it was that sandwich and it's followed by the mayonnaise that Burger King uses on the chicken sandwich.
Oh yeah, that's good.
And that's if like for fast food type mayonnaise.
Yeah, right.
But I think that's the same premise with Lorraine not knowing and George not remembering Calvin Klein, like putting two and two together. Just
yeah.
And plus, like at this point when they've changed the future, like let's be real, they're rich, so they don't remember shit like that anyways.
Right.
Well, not rich, but they're well-to-do. I'd say they're upper middle class, but they're about to be rich because George just dropped a book. It seemed to be a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
With a shitty cover though.
Yeah.
But that's all I have. Did you have any mysteries?
Nope, no mysteries.
Okay, I was like, please, Adam, don't fucking do time travel shit, because like I don't have the fucking mental capacity to try to wrap my brain around it.
I did have one, but I skipped past it because we already covered that stuff.
Okay, I was gonna say we did it on Tenet last week, which you can listen to on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Third cheap plug of the episode.
Second for Tenet.
Yeah. Yeah, we're
it's a good
really
episode. You should listen to it.
Yeah. And surprisingly, like I've gotten a lot of positive feedback, and I thought that episode was going to turn out shitty because you and I were both pretty slap happy during the last part of that, especially. And that came on. That came on like in Kill Bill. That I forget what the name of the song is, but that
Oh.
it's like it just hit me all of a sudden. I'm like, oh fuck, not the greatest time to like to have this like just that sleep heaviness hit me. The most 1985 moment of the movie. I am going to nominate when Marty asks for a Pepsi Free or a Tab.
Oh yeah. Very 1985. Mine would be where he loves playing the arcade game inside. I always forget what it is though. Is it the Wild Gunman?
That was the machine in 2.
I think it's the same one.
It is?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Because they're like, oh, you have to use your hands, and then
that's
they
in 2, yeah.
Kind of walk away. Yeah. But he plays it in this one too, I believe.
I don't remember the arcade game.
Yeah, well, I think it's back there. I don't know if he plays it or not, but I do remember seeing it.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, the movie, like I said, it's very time specific. I mean, it takes place in 1985, so there's going to be a lot of outdated shit. I remember Pepsi Free and Tab. I remember they both. Pepsi Free was okay, but I wasn't like a caffeine. They're caffeine free sodas is what they are. Pepsi Free obviously is like the caffeine free version of Pepsi, and then Tab was, I think, a Coke product.
Yeah.
Pepsi Free wasn't bad, but like 1985, 1986, I also wasn't in dire need of caffeine on a daily basis like I am now. I don't depend on it, so like, okay, soda pop never really had any effect on me. Tab, on the other hand, was fucking disgusting.
Yeah, Tab's gross.
Yeah, if someone offered me a Tab as a kid, I'd fucking fight them.
You deserve a punch right in the face.
Yeah, it's like, you're going to give me this shit? I thought we were friends.
It's like if, what's that really nasty like fruit water that comes in cans now? I can't even remember what the name of it is. It's like somebody like, what is it? LaCroix? I think that's what it is. Man, that stuff's gross.
LaCroix?
Yeah.
My wife drinks the bubbly water. She really digs it. Bubbly's not too bad.
I don't like the bubbly water. If it had like flavor to it and it was a little bubbly, I would drink the bubbly water. But that just straight bubbly, like the carbonated water, like it's ew.
Yeah, I'm a cola guy. It's gotta have some. It's gotta have a flavor to it.
I did look it up. You're right. I was remembering wrong. Although Wild Gunman did come out on the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1985. So.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Needless to say, Wild Gunman, a relic of 1985 as well.
Yes.
Well, you can't go wrong with either choice, really. That whole, I would say probably the video game then, because video games were cool. Pepsi Free and especially Tab fucking suck.
Forgetting something very important.
Good.
DeLorean.
Oh yeah. That's the winner. That's got to be the winner.
That's the winner.
Yeah, the DeLorean, which I found out still like you can still get a DeLorean, and they even make them.
Oh, really?
They put the flux capacitor in there now for like show.
Oh, that's cool.
But I remember the DeLorean as being like a huge colossal flop, and then the guy, the designer, and the guy in charge of giving the world the DeLorean got busted for cocaine. I think he went to jail for it. John DeLorean.
Yeah.
I think he got busted for cocaine. a couple years after the release of the car.
I think the car was super unsafe too. Like it was made out of steel or something, right? And it would get eviscerated and eviscerate whatever it goes through.
Wow. All right. This is a brief synopsis of the DeLorean Motor Company from our good friends at Wikipedia. The DeLorean Motor Company was an American automobile manufacturer formed by automotive industry executive John DeLorean in 1975. It produced just one model from early 1981 to late 1982, the stainless steel DeLorean sports car featuring gull wing doors. Its history was brief and turbulent, ending in receivership and bankruptcy in 1982. In October of 1982, John DeLorean was videotaped in a sting operation agreeing to bankroll drug trafficking, but was acquitted at the subsequent trial on the basis of entrapment.
Oh my gosh.
And fun fact, the DeLorean was featured in the Back to the Future film trilogy as the car made into a time machine by eccentric scientist Doc Brown, although the company had closed before the first film was made. But you can still get them, so you'd see him being able to get them.
Probably was easy to get the rights to use it, like the name and everything, the car type.
Oh, yeah. I can't see it be like, well, no, you're not going to be able to. We want $1 million for the rights to use the DeLorean. It's probably like, well, they're bankrupt. Who gives a shit?
That's right. It's just got busted for drugs and everything else. And
that guy's fighting to stay out of jail. He don't give a fuck if nobody's using his car.
Yeah, I'm reading here that it was made out of brushed stainless steel, and it was very dangerous. And it also was noted for its lack of power and performance, which, in the film it seems like it's pretty powerful. But I mean, we're gonna say that Doc Brown souped it up. So
I'm sure Doc Brown's got he dropped the hood on that bad boy. It was going to town on it.
Yeah. So is the DeLorean like? I would say that's like the Cybertruck of the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I think so.
Just ugly.
Oh, yeah. That's like, that looks like the design, like when you're like a 7-year-old kid and they ask you to draw a truck on a piece of paper. That's what you get. That's
probably the best description I've ever heard of the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
It's like, hey, son, draw daddy a truck. Like, okay. Or like, my daddy's a truck driver. This is him driving his truck. Like, that looks nothing like a truck, son, but I love you anyways. New category we're introducing here. We've decided to abandon the hot take award because Adam and I typically do not have many hot takes because we love these movies and we try not to shit on them too much.
Yeah.
So the hottest take award is going the way of the dodo bird. For the newest category, the Indiana Jones It Belongs in a Museum award for the prop you would want for your personal collection. So this is basically something from the movie that you've seen that you would like, hey, like I would buy that at an auction and I would put it on display in my home.
And this movie has so many different props in it that you want to take and display it in your home. Like that was from Back to the Future.
Yeah. Now, I don't think it has as many as Back to the Future 2.
Right. Back to the Future 2 has a lot.
Oh, Back to the Future 2 is like a ton of stuff. I don't think we should use the DeLorean because I don't think you could put the DeLorean in your house. Well, you could, but
put it in the garage. But yeah, no. Okay. Then if we can't use the DeLorean, which is what I was going to pick, obviously, I would pick the flux capacitor. Just that little plexiglass box with the lights.
That is pretty cool. But like, could you get it out of the DeLorean? or does that come with it?
I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure you could just like unscrew it and like slap it on your wall and be like, somebody walk in like, why the hell is there a weird light on your wall? Like, oh, that's the flux capacitor. And just look at you funny, like, oh, okay.
If you can get on your bicycle and do 88 miles an hour, that thing will transport you to any point in time that you wish. Or if your fucking Subaru out there can hit 88, which I doubt, because I heard you pull up 15 minutes ago. You could go back and like find a way to get a better car.
That's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
All right, so you're going with the flux capacitor?
I think I'm going with the flux capacitor.
We seriously created this category right before we started recording, but I think all the candidates that you and I come up with for this particular movie were like super awesome. I am going with the Marvin Berry's guitar that Michael J. Fox plays at the Enchantment of the Sea dance.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that would go on display in my living room.
That's a really good talking piece too, because that's better than somebody walking in going, "What the hell is that light on your wall?"
Well, I think if someone's seen the flux capacitor, like Back to the Future's got enough pop cultural significance to where somebody like, okay, I know what that's from.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But the guitar, on the other hand,
yeah,
that's played by Chuck Berry's cousin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Marvin Berry. But yeah, that would be the one I would take. If it wasn't that, then I would try to. I love posters. I have pretty substantial music poster collection. I've got some movie posters as well. I would also take the Enchantment of the Sea dance poster that's littered, or flyer that's littered through the hallways of Hill Valley High.
That's a good one. Maybe I would also take the mind reading apparatus that Doc Brown has on his head.
Damn, you're really fucking trying to you're clearing out some space in your living room.
Yeah, I could like hang it from the ceiling as like a light. 'Cause there's lots of lights on it.
Maybe the pistol that Doc Brown pulls out to protect himself from the Libyans that. I was like, man, look at Doc. That's not going to help you out, buddy.
The hazmat suit that Marty dons to be Darth Vader from the planet Vulcan, or even the Walkman.
Yeah, I was going to ask you which one you would take from part 2, but I'm almost certain we're going to do part 2 at some point.
Yeah.
So we'll save that one for 2, because I'm curious to hear what yours is, because I think most people would take the hoverboard. But as we're talking, one just popped into my head. I'm like, I think that might be it.
The Gray Sports Almanac would probably be another one that a lot of people would take. I've actually seen the Gray Sports Almanac. It's on the wall at where was that? I'm pretty sure it was in the Planet Hollywood store in Orlando. Is where I saw that.
There's a card museum. There's a car museum in Gatlinburg. They have a DeLorean. I don't know if it's a movie used one. They say it is, but I could also say I was a fucking stunt double in fucking Captain America, the Winter Soldier too. And if you didn't know me, you wouldn't know any better. And they had the Gray Sports Almanac with it too.
Yeah. So
I don't know if it's like legit or what, but
they probably had multiple copies of it.
Oh, I'm sure they did. The Hall of Fame plaque. This award is for if there were a Couch Brotato Podcast Hall of Fame, and we were inducting a actor, actress, director, whomever, would this be the movie feature on their Hall of Fame plaque? Michael J. Fox, I'm obviously going to say yes. He was one of those actors that he had a nice career, but nothing ever really gained him the traction that Back to the Future did.
Are you sure Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey isn't one of his? No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, dude, Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey. I fucking as a kid, I love that movie. The second one's good too.
That's a good movie. Yeah.
I just didn't like. It sucked that they had to replace Don Amici as the voice of the older golden retriever because he passed away, and they got the guy. His name's Ralph Waite. He played Hal in Cliffhanger, who's probably notorious in memes now as the when Michael Rooker's trying to save his girlfriend. He's the helicopter pilot. He's got that crazed smile on his face when his girlfriend's getting ready to plummet to her death. But yeah, Homeward Bound. Yeah, I love those movies. Christopher Lloyd. I would say yes to this too.
Yeah, he's got I think a better. Michael J. Fox has a great run, but I think Christopher Lloyd is just one of those actors that has a whole bunch of bangers.
Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, once again, like nothing that would get to quite this these heights.
Right.
Leah Thompson, I would say yes to her too.
Yeah.
This is the one I found to be the most intriguing is Robert Zemeckis. Now, Robert Zemeckis not only did Back to the Future, but he also did Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He did Romancing the Stone.
Yep.
He did Castaway. He did Flight. Death Becomes Her.
Oh, that's a good one too.
And he did Forrest Gump. Those are just a few of the titles that he's directed. I think it boils down. I think it boils down to Back to the Future versus Forrest Gump.
Yeah, it does.
Both of
None
them.
of those other movies. Yeah.
Castaway's got a slight case because it's kind of got it's still pop culturally significant, but I think it boils down to Back to the Future versus Forrest Gump. I would probably lean slightly towards Forrest Gump because of the awards pedigree, which I'm on record and I'll still say it to this day. I like Forrest Gump a lot, but it's not the best picture of 1994.
Nope. And I think we've done a podcast saying the same thing.
Right. Former co-host Lucas feels the exact opposite of me. He feels that Forrest Gump's one of the greatest movies of all time, but neither here or there. But I think it's got to be Forrest Gump for Robert Zemeckis.
See, I'm leaning more towards Back to the Future, and the only reason I say that, the Forrest Gump has the awards pedigree.
Forrest Gump was also a super big hit in the theaters too. So I mean, I think the tiebreaker's got to be the awards.
I just think, but when you go to pop culture references, memes, icons, like Forrest Gump is there, but I think that, Back to the Future is kind of there too. That's hard.
I'm leaning towards Gump. I think maybe too, Forrest Gump is kind of a little bit fresher in minds of like at least our audience. Like Forrest Gump's 94 versus 85. It's damn near 10 years apart.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, both of them were super big hits at the box office. I don't think Forrest Gump was the biggest movie of 94. I think that was The Lion King. But Forrest Gump was, I think, number 2. Back to the Future was the number 1 movie of 85. But yeah, the fact that Robert Zemeckis won Best Director and Forrest Gump won Best Picture that year.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Gump. I mean, I prefer Back to the Future over Forrest Gump, but I think Forrest Gump's the winner here.
I can't decide, so we're gonna go with you.
Okay. So like when I was coming up with that, I was like, "Fuck, that's a good one," because that's tough. Because
It is a real Josh.
Because Robert Zemeckis is probably not quite on that Spielberg level, but I think like directors of the 80s, he's probably below him. He's probably on that next tier of guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, just real quick, I want to run down his filmography real fast. But yeah, Robert Zemeckis did Used Cars, which is a fucking awesome Kurt Russell movie from 1980. He did Romancing the Stone, Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3. He did Death Becomes Her, Forrest Gump, and then the wheels kind of start coming off after Forrest Gump. He did Contact, which that movie's okay, but not my favorite. What Lies Beneath it's solid, but it's not quite.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Castaway, fucking banger.
Yeah.
I think that's the last truly A+ performance from Tom Hanks. Then he started playing around with CGI. He did the Polar Express, which a beloved Christmas classic, but man, those people look fucking weird in that movie.
They do. It's weird, uncanny valley kind of stuff, especially with Tom Hanks's characters.
And then he did Beowulf and A Christmas Carol with Jim Carrey. Then he rebounded with Flight. Flight is fucking awesome. That's a great movie. I think that's the last truly great movie he did. He did that. Damn, he directed that really shitty Pinocchio Disney movie that Tom Hanks did too.
Oh, yeah, that got critically panned. That just came out not too long ago.
2022.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Tom Hanks is his go-to, huh?
Mm-hmm. All right. Burning questions here. Is Back to the Future the gold standard for time travel movies?
No. And the only reason I say that is because there's too many time paradoxes, in my opinion. It doesn't make sense for time travel.
Well, I'm going to say yes, because it's even been referenced in other movies, including Avengers Endgame, that they follow the rules of Back to the Future. You can't run into your future or past self. And then, the branching of when you do something in the past, it affects the present.
Yeah, but they also said that Back to the Future got it wrong because your past is your new future.
I'm not going to attempt to argue with you, dude, because like I said, you're the brains of this outfit. I'm just saying it is because when people think of time travel in movies, that one's the first movie they think of.
You know what? Everybody else is going to agree with you because I'm being too scientifically minded about it, and everybody's gonna be like, "You're a nerd, Adam. Shut up." So,
well, I tried to get Neil deGrasse Tyson on here, but his representative when I called to book him on the show, who?
Oh yeah,
who are you?
They pretend not to know us, but
and
they do. They
hung up.
Yeah.
Is the DeLorean on the Mount Rushmore of movie cars?
Yes.
All right. What would be your your Mount Rushmore of movie cars?
Let's see. We got the Batmobile.
Which Batmobile?
The 89 Batman Returns Batmobile.
Okay.
The DeLorean. See here. Trying to think of movie. I guess Herbie the Love Bug would be one.
Okay.
I don't really like those movies, but it's very well known, car movie wise. Let's see. Put me on the spot here. I'm just trying to think of car movies. The bus from Speed. That would be cool.
Okay.
Just having a garage. I'm drawing a blank here on some of these.
All right.
You go with your list.
Okay. I have the DeLorean.
Okay.
I have the Trans Am from Smokey and the Bandit.
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
That one's on there. The Mustang from Bullet.
Yes.
And then
The Dukes of Hazzard. I didn't even, okay, yeah, go ahead.
it probably isn't on most people's list, but I really, when I think of movie cars, I think of the Blues Brothers mobile.
Oh,
Because that thing just gets beat to shit, just keeps going, and then they literally drive it till the wheels fall off.
yeah.
So that would be my pick. I know some people would probably pick like the Challenger from Dom's Challenger from Fast and Furious. That would probably be on the list too. The Batmobile's a good one.
Yeah.
Either the 89 or even the Tumbler.
Yeah, the Tumbler's good.
Or shit, even
go ahead.
I was going to say Christine.
Oh yeah, Christine. The car that they drive in the Men in Black.
Oh, you know what?
Button.
Now that I'm thinking of it, I'm surprised you didn't say Ecto One from Ghostbusters.
Oh, the Ecto one. Yeah, man. Well, that's definitely on my top 5 at least.
And then the Mirthmobile from Wayne's World 2.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think realistically, it would probably be. I don't think the Blues Brothers would be on like my list. It should be like maybe Ecto One or. But I love the fact that car just gets annihilated in that movie. It just keeps going, and then all of a sudden, or like just basically, it dies when they complete their mission. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
it's almost up for the Blues Brothers when the fucking Bluesmobile just takes a shit right outside City Hall.
Yeah.
Which that's a movie we should do at some point.
That is definitely a movie we should do. I love the Blues Brothers.
Hot take, best Saturday Night Live movie of all time.
I don't know if that's a hot take because I kind of agree with it, but
It's either that or Wayne's World. It's one of those two.
It's not going to be on the Mount Rushmore because it's not as well known as some of the other vehicles we're doing. But my personal Mount Rushmore, it's the Jurassic Park Jeeps, and then the Ford Explorers that they're in, the electric ones. Yeah, those ones are good too.
Those are pretty fucking sweet cars.
Yeah.
Or even the fucking Jeep.
Yeah, the Jeep is
one that they're driving when
I've
the T-Rex chased them.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get one of those. Like, and paint it like the Jurassic Park, have the Jurassic Park logo on it.
Well, a former coworker of ours, when we worked for the giant yellow tag retailer, he had a Jurassic Park Jeep.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was always super jealous of that.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I knew, like, when I seen him, like, I seen that Jeep, like, oh, yep, there's Justin.
They actually, I don't remember, I think it was the Regal Cinema, but when we went to go see Jurassic World, they had the Ford Explorer on the outside, and they had Richard Kiley on the speakers inside of it doing the whole tour and everything. It was cool.
I think that was I think it was for Fallen Kingdom, because I remember we went and seen that there, and they had that Jeep out there. So it's probably during Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah,
that's the one where they had the cool dinosaur. Yeah, Fallen Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last award of the program, the Finding Forrester Award for "You're the Man Now, Dog," for biggest life lesson taken from this movie. Do you have a life lesson that you?
If somebody says they're from the future and tells you to wear a Kevlar vest, do it.
Yeah. Yep, just do it. That's a good one. I was just gonna say never always believe in yourself, because George never did. Then he got the girl that he wanted, ends up living the life that he wanted.
that's a more realistic life lesson from this movie. So we'll go with that.
Well, it's either that or like,
know,
don't chase somebody on a skateboard because there's a pretty good chance you're going to fucking hit a manure truck and just be covered in shit. That would be the other one. Like, don't chase a dude in skateboard. Just, hey, you'll get him another day.
Don't even start chasing somebody if there's a manure truck next to you. They don't even have to be on a skateboard. If there's a manure truck in the area, just stay away from whatever it is that you're chasing.
There doesn't even have to be a manure truck. The possibility of there one just coming out of nowhere is real when somebody is being pursued like on a skateboard. Just there's that chance it's going to happen. So just don't fucking chase them. Just don't give in. Like, I'll see him on the street somewhere. I'll get him then.
Exactly.
All right. That's been Back to the Future. We hope you guys and gals enjoyed the show. Be sure to follow us on our social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever they're calling themselves these days, TikTok. All those links are in the show description below. Be sure to shoot us an email, also provided in the show description below. And if you're listening to the program, if you could do us a small favor, just take a brief moment of your time and leave us a quick 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'd greatly appreciate it. It helps make our show a little bit more visible in the mole search results. So we do appreciate it. And until next time, we will talk to you guys and gals later.